Homework day 7, it's still in the mathematic foundation, solving for unknowns. So it's going to get into some algebra. They assume maybe you've had a little bit of algebra, but maybe it's been a really long time since you've had algebra. So some things you need to know. First of all, if there's not a sign in there, 9y means 9 times y. So when I want to solve my equation, I'm saying 9 times what number is 72? Well, most of you probably know 9 times what number is 72. But what they want to get across when you're solving is that you have to do the opposite to solve it. If I want to get the y by itself, since this is times, I do the opposite, so I divide. 9 divided by 9 would make that 1y, or just y. 72 divided by 9 is 8. You know that 9 times 8 is 72, and that's going to be your answer. The next one there is pretty straightforward. Again, it says x plus 19 equals 31. What number plus 19 is 31? Again, you probably could figure it out without really knowing how to do algebra, but since we have to get to some harder stuff, we need to know the rules. In order to get the x by itself, you have to do the opposite of adding 19. The opposite of adding is going to be subtracting. So I'm going to subtract 19 from both sides, and 19 minus 19 would make that 0. X plus 0 is just x then, and you get the x by itself. So over on this other side, we have to take 31 minus 19 then. 9, 10, 11, we get 12. So you always try to do the opposite when you're trying to get the variable by itself. On the third one, if I have x over 7 equals 8, x over 7 means x divided by 7. So if I'm showing x divided by 7, we have to do the opposite of dividing. The opposite of dividing is multiplying by 7. What number divided by 7 is 8? Well, these are going to cancel each other out, and 7 times 8 is going to be 56. We know that 56 divided by 7 is going to end up being 8. And so if it shows multiplying, you're going to divide. If it shows adding, you're going to subtract. If it shows dividing, you're going to multiply. We didn't have one with a subtraction, but if it has a subtraction, you're going to add. So that when you get down to number 4, you're going to get some longer algebra problems to do. If I want to solve that for x, if I want to solve this for x, I want to get the x by itself. So the first thing I need to do is move the adding or subtracting over. In this case, we have subtracting. If I want to move that to the other side, we do the opposite of subtracting, which is adding 12. So 3x is going to equal 36 plus 12, which is 48. Then again, we have to get the x by itself. 3x means 3 times x. To get rid of that number in front, then I do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing by 3. X is going to equal 48 divided by 3. 3 goes into 4. 1 time, I have 18 left over. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So 16 times 3 is 48. And then if I wanted to check that out, I would say, is 3 times 16 minus 12 equal to 36? 3 times 16 is 48, and 48 minus 12, sure enough, is 36. Not that you have to check it, but if you wanted to check it. Number 5, this one has parentheses. If you have parentheses, you're going to use what's called the distributive property to get rid of the parentheses, and then you're going to solve it like the previous one. So we have to multiply this out first. I'm going to do 12 times a, which we just write as 12a, and then I also have to do the 12 times that number there. 12 times 1 is 12, so I have minus 12 equals 84. Now I solve it like I did the previous problem. I want to get the a by itself, so I need to move the 12 to the other side. Since that's a minus 12, I have to plus my 12. 12a is going to equal 84 plus 12, which is 96. Now if 12a equals 96, I have to remember that means 12 times a. 12 times what number is 96? I do the opposite of timesing, which is dividing. So A is going to equal 96 divided by 12. So if we take 96 and divide it by 12, let's see, that must go in there. Eight times 16, 96. So 96 divided by 12 gives me 8. And so my answer for A is going to be 8. Now if I wanted to check this, I could put 8 in here. 8 minus 1 is 7, and I take 7 times 12 then, and 7 times 12 is 84. Now this one tells me to solve for B. Notice I have a B and another B. So before I try to do anything else, I'm going to combine those two things together. 2B plus 6B would give me 8Bs, and I can put that together, and now I can solve that because I know if I have 8B equals 112, it means 8 times B equals 112. What number times 8 is 112? Well, to figure that out, we would divide by 8. 8 goes into 112 one time. So I get 32, so 4. So my answer B is going to be 14 times. Number 7, again we're going to solve this one. We're going to use our distributive property since it has parentheses. So 7 times A would be 7A minus 7 times 4 is 28. Again, I want to solve that. Since this is subtracting, I have to move it to the other side by adding. So I'm going to add my 28 to cancel that out. 7A is going to equal 28 plus 28. 28 plus 28 would be 56. 7 times what number is 56? Well, in order to figure that out, I divide by 7, and we know that it's 8. 56 divided by 7 is 8, because 7 times 8 is 56. And this is a short page. Solve the following for the unknown A. 7 minus 4, or 7A minus 4A. These are like terms again. I'm going to be able to put those together. So 7 minus 4 gives me 3A equals 15. 3 times what number is 15? You probably know that it's 5, but what we do is we divide by 3. And A is equal to 15 divided by 3, which of course is 5. So A equals 5. So we're going to have some algebra things there. If you haven't had a lot of algebra, make sure every time you get a little bit different variation that you print out or write down an example so you have some examples to follow, but just a little bit of introduction so that when we get to some formulas and we have to rearrange the formulas, you understand why we do what we do. So not a lot of algebra, but a little bit that you're going to have to learn how to do.